Hey! So today I'm going to do a bit of a story time. The story that I want to tell you about is directly related to what I am going to be doing today, and that is waxing this beautiful portion of my foot and leg. My leg was severely burned. We're talking some pretty severe second-degree burns. There's quite a bit of scarring.
Hey guys, so real quick, I'm currently editing this. I realized that the angle of the camera is not like as tall as I thought it was. So a lot of like my gesturing is down at my foot and you can't really see it. To just be aware of that. Yeah, that's about it.
I thought it would be, what's the word? Not relevant? Appropriate? I thought it would be appropriate to enjoy a nice Corona while talking about what I've been doing for a good portion of my quarantine because of the coronavirus. So really that's just an excuse for me to drink a beer while I wax part of my leg. But let's chat about this because I think this makes for a highly entertaining story. So I keep it in an olive tapenade jar. It's It is a sugar wax. I made this in one of my previous videos. I definitely did not cook it long enough to actually use it as a sugar ball, but instead it's this nice honey-colored golden yellow wax, basically, that works really well with wax strips, just cloth textiles, which, I swear I'm all over the place, which I happen to have. So, almost 6 weeks ago, I went for the first time up to Black Rock Desert in Nevada. Black Rock Desert is where the infamous Burning Man is. It's a really beautiful place. It's very desolate, but it's also known for having hot springs, natural geothermal hot springs. So, the beginning of like COVID-19, when the term social distancing was really starting to catch on and people were trying to like avoid one another, this is when I decided I was gonna go up to Black Rock Desert and check out the geothermal hot springs. So I kind of have adopted this like saying, this mantra for 2020, before shit has really hit the fan in the world, for finding adventure in every day. So working at Tesla has been great, but it is a very demanding job that has taken up a lot of my time, and it's taken up a lot of my energy and my mental resources and kind of my everything. So find adventure in every day was kind of my way of taking back my own power over my daily thoughts, because I have the time. It's just a matter of whether or not I have the motivation or the energy to do things. With the mindset of finding adventure in every day, I have made it a point that at least once a week, it's been typically Mondays, I'll go to different places that I've never been to before to explore new trails, and ideally to just get out into nature a little bit more. I used to go out all the time to go camping, to go backpacking, and I haven't done any of that stuff since I moved to Nevada, and you would think it's the opposite because of how outdoor-centric Nevada is. Like Reno, Tahoe, you'd think I'd be a lot more outdoorsy, but I've just kind of lost touch with that. So in trying to reconnect with that side of myself, I decided to go up to the Trego Hot Springs in the Black Rock Desert. We'll try this again. That Monday at about 9 o'clock, I loaded the dogs up. I had a day pack packed. The goal was to go up, soak in the hot springs. I was really sore. I had lifted really heavy the night before. And so, whew, that got it. It's about a 2.5 hour drive from Reno, so I was just planning on driving out there, hanging out in the hot spring for a couple of hours, soaking, relaxing, making my muscles feel better, and then taking the dogs for an easy hike. That was kind of the plan for the day, was to just go up to adventure and to have some fun. So off we go. I find the place after about 3 hours because it is down Jungo Road, which is more or less unmarked. I drove past it, and it wasn't until I was in the next town over that I realized I had gone too far, so I had to turn around and go back. So I finally found the hot springs. Like, it was not what I had expected, to say the least. So we drove down for about an hour down this like rocky dirt road. It started getting really muddy, so I parked the truck off onto the side, and I had the dogs with me. So I let the dogs out because we were just gonna hike. I was like, I don't want to get my truck stuck. We're just gonna hike to wherever this hot spring is. So off we go, and I've got the dogs. They're having fun. As we get closer to the hot springs, though, it turns from like rocky, somewhat soft, muddy area to like a field of feces. Literally, I don't know how else to describe it. For being a water source in the middle of the desert, I mean, it makes sense. It's a gathering ground for all sorts of creatures. But the difference between the two dogs, Thor is chill. Thor is like, oh, we're here, we're hanging out, like, okay, I'm gonna contribute to the species that is excreted here. And Parang is like, I wanna eat it. I wanna roll in it, I wanna eat it, I want it all over my body, I want it in my body. Like, that's my dog. My dog's a poop dog. Some dogs are like that, some dogs aren't. It's nothing wrong with them, that's just how some dogs are. So he's having a grand old time, and the hot spring is beautiful. So I'm getting excited. Trego Hot Springs, if you're not from Nevada or if you've never heard of the hot springs, it's in the middle of nowhere and it's on public land. So it is known for being a place that you can go in with a swimsuit or you can go skinny dipping. Like, it's in the middle of nowhere. So I get excited for this. I strip down and I'm like, yeah, hot spring. Whew. But we're going along. I'm getting excited. You know, I find a little like tree branch, bush, shrub thing, and I'm thinking like, I'm gonna hang my stuff here. I'm gonna get into the water. Don't lick the sugar scrub, please. Thank you. Everything's gonna be great. I've got my camera with me. It's gonna be fantastic. I'm gonna get all these epic Instagram shots. Like, this is perfect. So I am all excited. I've got my camera set up. You'd think a lot of this is common sense stuff. Like, you'd think this is common sense, but I'm walking up to the water, and I'm gonna skip over a lot of the details on this part, but long story short, it's mud. It goes from rock and a cliff area to soft bottom ditch mud. So I'm walking along, happy as a clam, thinking everything's gonna be great, and all of a sudden, it actually started with my left foot. My left foot sunk, I don't know, probably like to here, deep into the water, into the mud. Like, I could feel the mud just envelop my whole foot up through my calf. And it was a very weird experience. Like, it kind of happened in slow motion almost. And as I started to fall forward, because that's like a whole like 12 inches that I wasn't accounting for, my body momentum started going forward. So naturally, my right foot, it didn't sink as deep into the mud as my left foot did. Not gonna lie, initially I thought the left foot was much worse than my right. But as soon as my right foot went in, my brain registered what was happening with my left foot. It started out as like these little pin prickles, like this like tentacle-y feeling almost. And then, I don't know, it was probably instantaneous, but it was like slow motion almost, like the way my mind was processing it. And all of a sudden it just ignited on fire. Like, it just searing pain. And so I throw my body backwards, and I happen to hit the edge of where the rocks are. So right square, I've actually got some like scratches and like some scarring.
Interjection number 2, as I'm watching this, my camera had cut out, and now I acknowledge that in the next segment. I'm sorry, is my talking bothering you? So So yeah, so I acknowledged that my camera cut out, but I didn't realize apparently when it cut out. I thought, because I heard the shutter go off, but I thought it had cut off further on. It literally cut me off mid-sentence, and I kept talking. I kept talking for apparently like a good 10 to 15 minutes before I realized that my camera was actually off. So, to kind of fill in the gap between where this cuts off and where the story picks up. So I get out of the water and I throw myself backwards, and I hit the rocks and I hit the gravel, like you heard that part. It cut my back up pretty rough, but like I don't remember that part. I don't remember feeling that. What I do remember is like the bright sky above me, because I just ripped my legs up. I threw them up in the air, and I don't know how long I laid there screaming, but I was screaming. Like, I have never screamed that loud in my life. I am thankful that I was in the middle of the wilderness with no one around. They say that like a full breath screaming with all your might like can last up to 20 seconds. I probably laid there for close to a minute then before I actually like could process what was going on and could think about like, I need to get up and I need to do something about this. So I remember that I had about a gallon's worth of water in my bag. I got up and I made my way back to where my stuff was, and I, starting with my left foot, because that is the one that I thought was worse, just poured the cold water onto my feet. By the time I got to my right foot, I had run out before I could really rinse off all the way up my leg that had become submerged. And so I took the cold mud that I was now standing in, and I started like packing it around my ankles and over top of my feet. And so like, picture this, I'm standing there like butt-ass naked in the middle of nowhere with burnt feet, now covered in mud. Like, I can't breathe, my breathing's irregular, like my mind is racing, like not a good scenario to be in. And as I'm like processing this, all of a sudden I start to hear the dogs howling. So mind you, I'm not in a very good position, and now all of a sudden I look over and Thor is barking at something down a cliff edge. I don't see my dog, and then all of a sudden I see his head pop up over like this edge. It ended up being like almost a 5-foot drop, and I just see his head and paws jump up like, and he like ends up sliding backwards and just drops out of sight. What do I do? What do I do? So I'm trying to think like, okay, like he's not whining, he's not crying, everything should be okay. Like, I'm looking around, the dogs don't have harnesses on, I didn't bring their leashes, I hiked probably like a good 5-10 minutes away from the truck. Like, it wasn't a super far hike away from the truck, far enough that with my burnt feet, like I wasn't running back there. Like, so all this is going on, and my dog's stuck over an edge, and then all of a sudden he starts crying. He starts crying out loud, like this, like, help me mom, I'm injured whine. So in reality, it was probably like a hobble, but in my mind, I like full on sprinted down to where he was at. And I look down, and he's like on a patch of dirt just big enough for like 4 paws. So it's not like this big. And everything else, like there's like, you can see like the plants and stuff growing out of the water, but you can also see the bubbling from the water coming up from the spring. So I don't know what the temperature is. All I know is my dog is stuck there, and if he falls in that water, there is a high probability that he is going to get burned, because that's what just happened to me. So I tell him to stay. I made my way back to my stuff. I grab my towel, I put on a shirt, I go back over, I have my boots with me. So I put on my socks, I put on my cowboy boots, I start scooting over the edge, and I can't reach him. Like, laying on my belly, I can't reach him to grab him and pull him up. Like, he doesn't have a harness on. So I make my way down there, and I land on that spot of dirt, but there isn't enough room for both of us. So I've got one foot on the dirt, and thank heavens I have leather boots, because the other foot ended up sinking deep into the mud. And I've got like a good like 15, probably like a good 16 to 17 inch shaft on my boots, and the mud started like coming up over the top of my boot. Like, that's how far deep my foot had sunk into the mud. So that is going to play probably a part of why I have the level of like scarring and the lines that I do on my foot. Like maybe it's because I went to work and wore shoes, like I don't know. But I got my dog up. I patted up on the top. He went to jump. I grabbed him right on his hips and heaved him up and over. The dogs are fine. The dogs think everything's gravy again. They run off, and now I'm stuck because I can't get up. So that's where this continues.
My camera shut off, so I'm using this moment as a beer break, and I use the rest of the time to clean up a little bit of the top here and then around the back, because my camera shutting off means I've been jabbering for almost 20 minutes. So I got my dog up. Now I'm stuck down there, and my foot is sinking even deeper. Nice. I managed to get myself out of the way because the cliff that I was on, it was like gradual. So I laid down, these reeds are like 3-4 feet tall. So I used my foot that had the boot in it. I pulled my everything out of the mud. I almost lost my boot in the mud. And then I started laying down the reeds in one direction to create kind of like a reed bridge for me to cross, to where I finally got over far enough that the ledge was low enough that I could jump up and climb over. I'm upset. I'm in a lot of pain. Currently, I'm a little scared. So I call my dad first and foremost. Thank goodness there was cell service. I was like, this hurts so badly. Like, yes, Dad, I am fine. I am walking back to the truck right now. But I just want someone to be on the phone with me because I'm in the middle of nowhere, and I'm trying to keep my mind off the fact that I'm currently wearing boots, socks and boots, compressed over some serious burns. Like, yeah. Ooh, that one hurt. Ooh, but I got it. So we get there. I'm using this as a distraction. Like, yeah. There's a reason I haven't shaved in now 6 weeks. So we drove the rest of the way home. We got home around 5:30, almost 6 o'clock. First thing I did, I got out of the truck. My partner came out to meet me outside. He helped me get out of the truck. Woo! Whew! That's a sting. Hey. So I ate some pizza after my dog was bathed. Thor was just gonna have to wait because I was exhausted. And I'm sitting here, actually not specifically in the seat. My partner is laid out on this couch about to fall asleep. I was sitting on her ottoman. And as I'm sitting there, an even more painful feeling came in. It was this feeling of, the best way that I can describe it is a reference to my childhood, and I don't know if you guys had something similar in your homes, but we had this, it's a register grate, heating duct. It's like a vent cover, but it's made out of iron. It felt like that iron was just pressed against the top of my foot, pressed against my toes, where it hadn't hurt before, and I couldn't do anything about it. And he's looking at me like, do you want to go to urgent care? And I'm just like, no, I don't. Like, COVID-19, coronavirus, I'm not trying to get sick. No, I don't. And he looks at my feet and he looks at me and goes, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Are you asleep or are you in pain? I'm just like, okay, we're going to urgent care. So he gets up. He does not look like he should be driving. He looks exhausted. But he knows that I can't drive, so he took the keys. Okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. So he takes the keys, he drove me to urgent care, he dropped me off right at the front door and went to go park my truck. And as I'm like hobbling on up to the door, so the camera cut out again, right in the middle of me talking in that last segment. And so as I'm going through and like trying to patch up and finish this video, I realized this is gonna be far too long of a video. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this video off right here. The wax turned out really, really well. My like calf and foot area feels great. So this will be part 1. And if you wanna see part 2, where it's basically 6 weeks of my foot healing, what it looks like, the process, what I did to try and get it to heal up to where there's fairly minimal amounts of scarring, all things considered. then hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want a notification for when the next video comes out, go ahead and hit that little bell icon, and you'll get a notification as soon as the next video posts. So I'll see you guys in my next video.